So here we are, our Christmas specials.
Yeah, welcome to our Christmas special episodes.
Yeah, we have been planning these episodes for, well, I guess since back in season 1, actually.
Yeah, it goes back a long way.
It was going to be our opening for season 2. We were going to do these 4 TV shows, and then we just came up with a much better idea for season 2 and went with that.
Yeah.
And then these ended up falling by the wayside just because, you know, our schedules are, we don't do this full time. This is a hobby that we do. It's just a side thing. It's not making us any money. We're just doing this for fun.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so it ends up, so now we're doing Christmas specials of the TV shows that we're doing. So we're going to have, well, we already did The Office. That's behind the paywall on our Patreon. We might release that for you guys.
Yeah.
And then we're doing Firefly, and we're doing
Man in the High Castle next week.
Man in the High Castle, which I almost have done.
Nice.
I got like 2 episodes left. And then
we have The Office releasing on Christmas Day, and then Breaking Bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Breaking Bad comes out, and then The Office will be the last one on Christmas Day, because Christmas Day is a Saturday this year.
Right.
These are releasing on Saturday, which is a different day than usual, but
away from our usual Tuesday.
Figured we'd do something special for the holiday.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are.
Yeah, I think I want to say last year during Christmas we released like that Lost Godfather episode. Remember that? We finally
because we ended season 1.
Yeah,
somehow missing having done the Godfather.
Completely missed editing somehow. Yeah,
somehow just got lost in the hustle and bustle of everything. You were like, here's our last episode. And I was like, wait, what? That's not right. We were supposed to end the file next week. And
Yeah.
Took us a while to figure out what had happened. And then we found it and we posted it on Christmas Day.
Exactly. It was good.
So it's becoming a tradition now to do stuff on Christmas.
Mm-hmm. So you were
my big dream that I've always wanted to do for Christmas is I want to do like 25 days of Christmas type thing where we review a different Christmas special every day.
Okay. Yeah.
That's something I've always wanted to do. Maybe next year.
Right. Yeah. That's 25 episodes. That's a lot of episodes, but it'd be ambitious, but that would be really cool.
It'd be fun.
Wow.
Anyway, so yeah.
Today is Firefly.
Yeah. Let me just pull up a synopsis of this so that we can tell people what it's about, because it's always funny to find people who don't know about the show, even though I really shouldn't be surprised that people don't know about the show, because it's not, I don't know, did it become that?
I honestly watched
that big?
Yeah, I honestly watched it for the first time just last year, because when Laura and I started dating, it was one of the first things we watched together, because it's one of her favorite TV shows. And she's like, "You never watched Firefly?" I was like, "Nope, I never have." So we sat down and we watched it. And Serenity, of course, the movie as well.
Yeah. So 500 years in the future, a renegade crew aboard a small spacecraft tries to survive as they travel the unknown parts of the galaxy and evade warring faction as well as authority agents out to get them.
Mm-hmm. And we should mention it was released early 2000, September 20, 2002, and it was created by Joss Whedon, who you probably know him from. He directed the first Avengers film back in 2012, but he also did older TV series like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He did Angel, Firefly, and he also produced, I believe, Cabin in the Woods. So he's been around, and this is one of his, I guess you could say, one of his babies.
Cabin in the Woods, I forgot about that one. That was, I don't watch horror movies typically, but I watched that one.
Yeah.
Because some of my friends were like, no, you need to watch this.
Yes, because it plays on the conventions of horror movies. Like it pokes fun at all the tropes that happen in horror movies. So I enjoyed it.
Honestly, it made me think of the big Wolfram and Hart in Angel, in the series Angel. I don't know if you're familiar with the series.
I am not.
Yeah, but there's this big company called Wolfram and Hart, and they are all about, like, basically they're the lawyers for evil creatures, like vampires and undead things and nasty wizards and things like that. So they're like the business legal arm of the underworld stuff. So there was that element in this movie where you have all these different things going on around the world where they're trying to stop this evil thing, and that's kind of what Wolfram & Hart is about in Angel. So I watched that movie and I'm kind of laughing at it because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is literally like a continuation of the show Angel.
Yeah,
that's literally what Cabin in the Woods felt like for me. It was a continuation of Angel, which makes sense because it's from the guy who made Angel.
Right. Yeah, I believe
he's got.
I said he produced it. I think he actually wrote the screenplay for Cabin in the Woods. If I'm not.
Yes, it's written by him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's had his hands all over the place. He's done a lot of things, Atlantis, Titan AE.
He took over one of his more panned efforts, you could say, was he took over for Justice League from, what's his name, Zack Snyder. And it turned out to be not such a good film. So he got a lot of flack for Justice League.
Yeah, I struggle with Joss Whedon because as much as I enjoy what he's done, he's not for every film franchise. And I definitely think he was the wrong pick for Justice League.
Yeah.
I think the studios got, this vision of, oh, he made Avengers work, so he knows how to do this. He can do this with Justice League. And it's like DC is just a completely different monster from Marvel. They're much more serious. They're much darker. They're much more cosmic, large. Like, you're dealing with, essentially you have the Avengers, which are basically all relatively human characters.
Right. They don't have massive superpowers like Superman or anything crazy.
I've seen the comparison where it's like Thor is the god among men in that one, whereas Batman is the man among gods in the Justice League, because they're all that crazy powerful. You have the King of Atlantis, who's this crazy, powerful ocean dude. And then you have, Martian Manhunter, who's this alien who can transform into anything. You have Cyborg, who's connected to the mother box and can teleport anywhere he wants to and connect to any computer in the world. There's all sorts of craziness that goes on in Justice League that just is not. It's not normally there in the Avengers. The Avengers are much more down to earth type thing, whereas Justice League is just crazy out there, going to other planets and doing crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, they get to that level in the Avengers movies, with Endgame, but even then, they lost terribly. They were out of their depth, as the movie showed.
Right.
Not in Endgame, but in Infinity War.
You mean?
Back.
You said Infinity War. Oh yeah. I see what you mean now. Yeah, they lost in Infinity War. Yeah, didn't lose in Endgame.
Lost in Infinity War.
Yeah, that would be bad if they lost in Endgame. That wouldn't have been such a good conclusion.
No one would. I would have walked out laughing. I would have been very pleased actually if they had lost it in Endgame, simply because you wouldn't expect it.
Yeah. Oh, you definitely would not have. No, people were mad enough after Infinity War.
Infinity War, that's the funny thing. People were mad enough, and I was like, my brother-in-law. I went and saw that with my brother-in-law, and he was so pissed at the end of that movie. And I was like, "This is exactly what I wanted them to do," And they did it.
Yeah,
I was half expecting them, with how quickly things were progressing, or how quickly it felt things were progressing in the movie. I thought they were going to end that movie with, them resetting everything. Like, I literally thought they were going to beat Thanos. Like, Thanos was going to beat them, but then they were going to fix it.
Yeah.
Like, right away, So, when that didn't happen, I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. It was good.
Yeah, so Firefly. Yeah, I struggle with Joss Whedon because, like I was saying before, he injects so much humor into things.
Yeah.
And he's good at it for the most part. So with Firefly is practically a comedy, and yet it's got so much serious moments in it.
Right.
And it works. And the same thing with Angel and Buffy. There's so much humor in there, but they're still also very serious shows. No one would ever think of those shows as comedies, you know?
Yeah.
And he did a similar thing with Avengers and Avengers 2. I think Avengers 2, he kicked it up a little too much. And, you know, we've talked about how Marvel suffers from that comedic bent, where they're trying to make everything so quippy and so Joss Whedon-ish that it's not really working out.
Right.
But I struggle with Joss Whedon because I feel like he screws himself over because he's so stuck on his view of how this show should go, which I understand it's his show. And I've never had a show like that, so maybe I would be the same way. But he doesn't take critiques from studios and producers well, it seems.
It's kind of like
I think that's kind of what. Well, that's partially what screwed this show over.
Yes, we'll get into that.
But that's also what screwed Angel over. You know, they were supposed to do more Angel, but he wouldn't bend on certain things, so they just ended the series. And when that series ends, it's kind of it feels like an epic end in the way that what's it called? Like the way the movie I just talked about, Infinity War ends.
Okay.
You know, they kind of are in the midst of losing, you know, like the apocalypse that they've talked about throughout all of Buffy and all of Angel is finally happening. And they've taken out a bunch of the big leaders and they get ready to go fight. And the movie, it just ends. It just ends. Like a couple of them have died. It's not going well. And the show just ends because they canceled it. And it all, from what I've heard of the backstories on that, it's all because they didn't like where Joss Whedon was going with it. They didn't like how he was like just pushing into that, oh man, these guys might actually lose too much, you know, which could make sense. Yeah. And then they gave him a chance to make 3 TV movies to like finish his story off.
Right.
And he ended up wanting to do these TV movies that I don't think anybody really would have cared for. Maybe like what was it? There's one about Spike that he wanted to do, which was a character from Buffy, which I could see that being popular. But then he wanted to do one focused on Willow and one focused on J. August Richards' character from Angel. And the stories that he had for them just sounded absolutely terrible. And I could see why the studios didn't do it, you know, because it just doesn't like make sense. And I remember a friend of mine having similar ways. Oh no, if I make a story, I'm going to do it this way. I'm like, no, you have to work within the studio system.
Yeah.
Or else it's not going to make it, you know? And I just feel like Joss Whedon has that reputation of not wanting to bend, and it costs him.
Right. Yeah, this is, I kind of looked it up. TV Guide lists this as number 5 at least in 2013. They listed Firefly at number 5 out of 60 shows quote, canceled too soon. And there was a lot of people that were not happy when this show, because it was canceled almost midway through the season. Like I think 11 of the 14 episodes had aired, but it was canceled during its actual initial run, which is a very rare thing. I think I've never heard of a show being canceled when it's still airing its episodes.
Yeah, there's so many things like, oh no, shows get canceled when they're still airing their episodes all the time. They just have to. It's like they get to finish off their season, and then
I guess
they're done. You know, an example of that would be the show Dark Angel, where they just got to, sometimes the shows actually get to wrap up, which is nice. If they get the word that they're being canceled, they get to film like one more episode towards the end that they just slap on to kind of wrap up the show. And sometimes they do a terrible job of it. Sometimes they do a good job of it. But this show did, oh man, it was just like, it was like set up for failure, in my opinion.
Yeah. Why don't we just, since we're already talking about it, let's get into it right now. Why this series was canceled so soon?
Okay.
I mean, first, I think you're probably going to mention the episodes were aired out of order, which is not helpful whatsoever.
Well, the episodes were aired out of order, and I feel like this is Joss Whedon's fault because he made a pilot for them that they didn't like. He went back and made some changes to it, and they still didn't like it. So it was time to air the show, because a lot of people don't realize that shows aren't like completely finished before they start airing. Like a season isn't necessarily done before it starts airing.
Yeah.
So they'll start airing episodes from a show, and the first season may not be finished yet. So so that's what pretty much happened with them, is they ended up doing the train robbery first,
right?
Because it was because the pilot literally wasn't finished. He hadn't finished it to the studio's liking. They felt that Mal was too dark of a character in it. They felt that there wasn't enough action, because they hired this guy to do what he did with Buffy and with Angel.
Right. They basically wanted another Buffy. They wanted another Angel out of
They wanted the younger demographic, and they wanted them to watch their shows. And he came to them with a space western.
Yeah.
Which, in my opinion, just shows his understanding of the genre. Personally, I love the fact that he did a space western.
Because you don't even know. Like, I don't know of too many space westerns out there. Like, period.
Well, that's the thing, is Star Trek is technically a space western.
Okay.
The original series, Star Trek, was a space western, because they have, the rugged Captain Kirk and his couple of guys, and they go down to a planet. It's usually like a desert type planet, and they go into the local area, and they end up fighting, and having, it's literally like they took westerns, which were very popular back then, and then put like a space theme over it. That's literally what happened with Star Trek, the original series. So to me, that's why I like what he was doing here. It's like, wow, he's kind of showing the original genre of sci-fi, how it started on TV. He's kind of going back to the roots, so you got this space western thing going on with it. He also makes space and the future a little more grounded in reality, instead of like, oh, we're in the future and everything's so perfect.
Right.
No, people are just still expanding and still going further than they were, and still having wars, and there's still these political systems that people don't like. There's still this injustice that somebody has to rise up against. So there's still crime, there's still police, there's not, it's not utopia, it's not Star Trek.
Right. It feels more grounded. It feels like it's, like a real, a plausible future almost,
Yeah. And I liked a little bit that they had like the languages kind of mixed in this,
Yes, they mixed some Chinese in there.
Mixed in with the English.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes sense, because Chinese is the most spoken language on the planet, because it's the most amount of people speak it.
Yeah. Well, and like the alliance was formed because the U.S., the two superpowers left were the U.S. and China, and they battled. They had a big war and everything, and then they eventually formed the alliance. And so everything is kind of the flag. Even there's an image of a flag, like the actual alliance flag is a mix between the U.S. flag and the Chinese flag.
I did not catch that.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I did some research and I found that. I was like, oh yeah, okay, all right. Because I don't think I caught that the first time around either. Yeah, there was.
Oh yeah, I see that now.
Yeah,
the stripes with the stars. Okay.
It was a civil war between the U.S. and China, and then they banded together to form the alliance, and then that's So that
would make sense then.
Yeah,
I get it. Yeah, because a lot of it goes unexplained. Like there's so much depth to the show. There's so many mysteries. There's so many like, okay, wow, this is going to be an epic show.
Yeah.
Or it was going to crash and burn and everyone was going to end up hating it. Honestly, you know what I mean? Like we like to have this dream that it was going to be so epic if it had more seasons. But honestly, who knows? Maybe we would have all thought that books past being explained was lame.
Yeah.
Maybe we would have all thought, just so we don't really know. But the fact that we never got the chance to know is really what makes this a cult classic, is the fact that like there was so much potential there, so much untapped, so much that just wasn't expanded on. So that's why this show, and the reason I recommend this show is because it's got that whole, like I said, roots. He understands sci-fi. I love the fact that he does silence when it's in outer space. He doesn't have all these weird space noises going on. It's just silence. And then you have a little bit of music, the That's all they do in space when they just show a ship flying. They don't do all these rocket sounds. They don't do all these crazy, whatever, lasers and whatnot. They don't even use lasers. They actually use projectile weapons because lasers are expensive. So people are using projectile weapons still in the future. And obviously they're different. They're souped up a little bit.
Right.
They get more shots off of them than they would a normal projectile. It's not the same as our guns, but it's still a projectile weapon and not phasers, which is just, like Star Trek with, it's just a beam and it can do anything. And we can make this be the ex machina that saves us whenever we need it to.
Exactly.
So, it's just really a grounded series. It's a lot of fun. There's so much that they put into it that you're just left wanting more.
Yeah.
There are a few graphic novels, and then there's the movie Serenity.
Yes.
And
Serenity came out, I think, in 2005. The series ended in 2003. So 2 years after the series ended, they had Serenity, which Serenity brought you at least some closure on some certain things. You got to find out what was all up with what's her name, River's character. You got some answers there. They got some closures on some characters, but again, still not near enough you could all fit into one 2-hour movie, obviously. But I love it
ends up being this weird amalgam of good and bad, because they don't really do much with some of the characters, and then some of the characters they just kill off,
right?
And then
wash.
You only get a couple stories. You only get stories for River and Mal and I don't know, maybe Zoe. I don't know.
And you get this ties in with River's character, but finding out the Reavers and their how they were created, who created them, the Alliance, and everything revolving around that. I feel like Inara got something as well. At least with her relationship with Mal, that there was a little something there.
Introduced in such a weird way that if you didn't know the show, the movie isn't fun to watch. It's a lot more difficult to watch. The movie doesn't hold on its own without the show, which stinks. But the movie also doesn't fix the show either. You know what I mean? Because it ends up retreading a lot of stories that were in the show. You have them escaping from the prison, and hooking up with Mal. You have Mal being more gruff because that's what they need to kind of get across the character. You have what was it? The black agent, Chiwetel Ejiofor's character.
Oh, the operative?
Yeah, the operative. Yeah. So you have him there, but he was also in there's a similar character towards the end of the show.
Yeah.
So that it's this guy coming after them, and it's just I don't know, there's just so many elements, and there's no guys with the blue hands. I don't know if that was important, but they were being chased by these people, other people too, throughout the series, and that's just not in the movie. So I don't know.
Yeah, for me, what really made this such a good show for me was it just like you mentioned earlier. It really boils down to the characters. I fell in love with these characters. It wasn't the world, the sci-fi Western world was immersive and fun and engaging, but really it still would be nothing without the characters. I especially love Mal's character. I love how he's fiercely loyal to his crew. He even says at one point, you turn on any of the crew, you're turning on me. And I just love how loyal he is to his crew, and how much he cares about his crew, and they're a family. I don't like to bring The Office into everything, but it kind of mirrors some things that they do with The Office. That they're a little family, on Serenity, and it's just.
Oh, you definitely like bringing The Office into
I kind of do. I'm not going to apologize about that. Never mind. So yeah, it's just I love the family dynamic among them, and I love also how there's a lot of moral choices the characters have to make. In the what turned out to be the second episode, the train job, whenever they steal goods from the train and it turns out to be medicine for local people, and they end up not giving the goods away to the buyer and getting money from it. They actually end up giving it back, like having to face some moral dilemmas and some difficult choices that populates throughout the series. And just flat out character development, throughout development with the characters themselves, their relationships between each other, among each other. And it's just a fun show. Like you said, it mixes in a lot of good comedy, but also a lot of drama. It's just a very good balance. And it's,
and that's like Joss Whedon's thing, is he's known for the balance of the comedy and the drama, which just, I just wish that we could have gotten more of it. And but I also think it's on him, because he doesn't work within the system. He likes to
do his own
thing
and
fight it. And I mean, he's creatively genius. He's brilliant. He's got so much going for him, but he's, well, not so much anymore. He's kind of an outcast now, isn't he? Didn't he do something?
He there were some allegations against him from multiple cast members about him being abusive, like verbally abusive on set and things of that nature. From, I forget which actors accused him. It was several actresses, I believe, came out and said he was doing these kinds of things.
Yeah.
So he has that to his name now. But yeah, I also just love like psychologically torn characters. So I liked River's character and like the mystery surrounding her, like who she was, what she was actually capable of, her outbursts and just the intrigue around her character. I loved that as well. And like I said, I liked that we got some answers in the Serenity of the movie, because we didn't really get anything by the end of the season. And
I wonder how long they would have dragged it out too. It's just, that's the thing, is there's just so much mystery in the show. Who knows how much they would have answered stuff.
I did read Joss Whedon originally intended to have 7 seasons for the show. Like that was his original intent, was 7 seasons. So it sounds like he had quite a bit of material planned for it. I also saw, apparently on DVD commentary, there's an article where they talk about there was actually going to be a subplot with Inara's character having like a terminal illness that apparently is hinted at actually in some of the episodes here and there of her having a terminal illness, like it's foreshadowed, but obviously didn't end up happening because of it being canceled. But
there is an episode about like she gets some type of health report or something, and
they hint
coughed up something black or something, right?
They hint at it
because everyone, like he set it up so that everyone would have some type of mystery thing about them, and it was going to be like revealed. Each mystery would get solved by the end of each season, like and because there's other characters, and
I even loved like Jane's episode. Jake, you got like the episode where they kind of go into Jane's,
the hero of Canton, the man they call Jane.
I like that episode too. That episode stood out to me.
I used to sing that song all the time when I was on forklifts, because we had Canton, Ohio as a door.
Okay.
And I would oftentimes end up, they would have me filling that door because it was something that had to be done by like midnight or something like that. So I'd be sitting there loading up freight, and I'd be like, he stole from the rich and he gave to the poor. He stood up to the man and he showed him what for.
Yeah.
Our love for him now ain't hard to explain. The hero of Canton, the man they call Jane. And I would just do that for hours. That's probably why they thought I was crazy.
That's all right. Yeah. It's just a fun series. And I like that the Alliance, like as far as antagonists go, I like the Alliance as an antagonist because this crew is constantly on the run from them throughout the whole season. Really, they're constantly on the run. And I mentioned,
okay, well then you have to think about this though. It's the Alliance versus the Confederacy, and there's certain elements where they talk about rising again. Oh, we will rise again, Yeah, and it's kind of hinting at like the South there, like American Civil War.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder should the Confederacy have lost?
Yeah.
Maybe they should have. Maybe they were. Maybe Mal was actually on the wrong side of history. You know,
I haven't thought about that.
Maybe as the show progressed, we would have learned that, oh, maybe they're not actually fighting for the just thing that we thought they were fighting for, you know?
That's an interesting thought.
But I don't know, you can't really it's just that's the thing about the show.
It's like there's so many what ifs, and you just wonder what could have been.
Yeah. I don't know where else we're gonna go with this episode, but do you have any favorite parts from the show?
I mean, I mentioned I really like Jane's episode. I loved just in the movie itself, Serenity, getting to see more of the Reavers, because we got like a glimpse of them. I'm trying to remember how much we saw them in the original season. I feel like we didn't see a whole lot of them, like not
barely
much
at all.
Yeah, I loved in the movie we got to see a lot more of them because they're pretty scary. Like I loved seeing them a lot more in the movie. As far as I'm not sure, humorous moments go, a lot of them involve Jane being Jane, essentially.
Yes,
he had a lot of great moments.
They had a graphic novels, like a 3-part graphic novel thing that started that filled in the gap supposedly between the show and the series, or in the movie, I mean.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it actually helped some of the jokes make a little more sense. You know, like at the beginning, he's talking like Jane and he's like, grenades? He's like, no grenades. Grenades? No grenades, you know? Yeah. And in the graphic novel, he does something really stupid with grenades. So it's just kind of funny that like the graphic novel right beforehand. So I like that tie-in, and I was into comics at the time, so it made sense to just buy the graphic novel before I saw the movie. But yeah, it ended up not, like, I can understand why it doesn't actually help fill in the gap for everybody.
Yeah. Are they still making comics for this?
I don't think so.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
I know they had a graphic novel for Shepherd Book Story. They did that. It's like 59 pages or something like that.
Okay.
So that's kind of nice. I'm going to look that up right now, actually.
Yeah, Laura has actually, she's a big fan of the series, like I was saying earlier. I think it's her favorite show, actually. And she has actually some of the comics from it, just to kind of, because obviously you get more of the story, more of the characters from the comics. And so she has some of those. But I was curious if they actually were still running. All I can see
is, wait, what? Whoa, there's a comic series published from 2005 to 2017.
Okay.
Wow.
That's quite a while.
Yeah, that is quite a while. So they had a number of miniseries and one-shots released sporadically. Okay. So in 2018, Boom Studios started running their own line of Firefly comics, and that went through. That's still going.
Okay.
The 31st one was released in July 28th.
Nice.
So I don't know if they have any more. They were the latest. Yeah. Okay. There might be comics still going for this. Wow.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Into comics now, but
yeah.
If you are and you like Firefly, there's a lot of material out there apparently. I know they did a similar thing with Buffy and Angel, and they continued on the series in comic book form there with Joss Whedon. So it makes sense that they would do it with Firefly as well.
Right.
And I think that's probably a better medium for him to actually tell his stories the way he wants to, instead of having to, because you can get away with a lot of things in comics that you can't in movies.
Oh yeah,
and TV shows,
definitely.
So interesting. That would make that's a cool find right there. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. So I was like, I feel like Laura may have told me that they're actually still running a while back. So I think she told me that last year sometime.
Yeah, that's cool. My favorite bits would be there's the episode with what's his name? Niska. Is that the doctor? The evil doctor?
I think so. Yes. Niska sound. That's very familiar.
But there's this evil doctor character who's like constantly after Mal, and he's tortured Mal and everything, and then he's fighting him at the end, hand to hand, and they go to shoot, and they're like, no, the captain needs to do this himself. And he's like, no, I don't. And like, oh, okay. And they all just start shooting at the bad guy. And I was like, that's so perfect. Because realistically, why would you risk someone dying to that? You know, like, why would you do like, so I just thought that was hilarious. And then my two favorite lines are, well, one's from the movie, Can't Stop the Signal.
Okay.
Absolutely love that. Because it's true, you know, like there's so many things, like the internet is this thing right now that like, and people are fighting about, there's so many things going on in different countries. You know, you have like the stuff that's going on in China, you know, with their revolution type, you know, their democratic rising of, I think it's Taiwan, you know, and they're fighting about not being, which has kind of gotten squashed down because of COVID. But then there's also Cuba, where the government there literally had to shut off the internet because of the fact that people were spreading the news about this uprising that they had there, you know, this cultural democratic revolution. And I just thought it was, those two things are amazing because you can't stop the signal because people found ways around it. So the government shut down their internet, but they still found ways around it because there's satellites now that go above us and provide internet to people, you know?
Yeah.
So you can't just shut off internet by cutting a wire or anything anymore. Like this is getting so big that you literally can't stop the signal. So I really appreciate that. And then the other one was, I aim to misbehave. You know,
I
actually use that line at work all the time. I come into the office and they ask me, they're like, so you behaving yourself? And I'll be like, no, I aim to misbehave.
Nice.
And the executive director, she's like, good.
Yeah, she gets it.
It's like, that's why they hired me, was to come in here and shake things up.
I just remembered one of the episodes that I liked was the Our Mrs. Reynolds, where he accidentally marries this woman, and the awkwardness that ensues between that with her wanting, you know, she's like, you know, we're married, or when are you going to lie with me, type of thing, and him being so uncomfortable with it. Like there are a lot of good awkward scenes there, and you know how I love awkward humor, and just there were some good moments there.
Yeah. I also like the fact that they actually have a married couple on the show too, which apparently the studio didn't like that.
Yes, that was one of the reasons they didn't like them being married, period. And Whedon was very adamant that he wanted them to be married and to have a good marriage. Fox apparently didn't like them being married, and they didn't like how healthy their marriage was. They wanted there to be more drama in their marriage, and Whedon was very adamant. Nope, they're going to stay married, and so that was one of the creative differences.
To me, it's just such a cop-out to have it be like, oh, there's either no one's married in the show, because that happens with shows all the time.
Yeah.
Or, the cop-out of it's a bad marriage. You know, that's the other thing, that either if they are married, if the character is married, it's a bad marriage.
Yeah, why does it have to be?
It's just like, it's not, one, it's not necessarily realistic. You know, I know that there's a lot of relationships that are not the best ever, you know what I mean? Right. There's certain things here that probably they could work on, you know what I mean? But they're still a decent couple, you know?
Yes, exactly.
They're not going to like go off and cheat on each other and just be like jerks like that. You know, they may argue and disagree with the way certain things are done, you know? And I like the way that Wash stands up to him at one point and be like, no, that's my wife, you know? Like, and there's aspects about that are just really good.
Yeah.
You don't see that in a lot of TV shows, you know?
No. Yeah, there's good dramatic moments in there. Like, there is. I don't understand that aspect of that really at all. I also found out that another reason why this didn't do well, they put this on a Friday night. Apparently, Friday nights are considered death nights for Fox. 30 shows that they have done have been canceled that aired on Friday nights.
There was like a 20-year period, I think, from like beginning in the 90s and and into the 2000s. It was like 20-year period where they went through 40 shows in that spot total. And there had been like 13 or 15 shows canceled in that spot beforehand. Yeah. And honestly, it's really comes down to the fact that their Friday night show is weak. usually. It's really what it boiled down to.
Yeah.
Because other channels had Friday nights that were just fine. You know, Friday night was a night to watch TV. TGIF, thank God it's Friday. You know, that was a lineup on TV that was literally all about Friday night, you know, but
because they also,
if you want to know who controlled the TV at that point, was it the kids or the dad? You know, like, you know, so if you're trying to get the dad, you don't want to go on a Friday night. And that this show wasn't geared towards that age bracket.
Right. It just seems to me that Fox was they were just very impatient. Like they wanted an immediate success, and you're not going to get that with a lot of shows. Like even again, I mentioned The Office, but The Office wasn't an instant success. I mean, The Office almost got canceled after the first season, but they gave it another shot. They gave it at least another season 2, and then it progressed from there. I feel like Fox wasn't. They're not very patient with their shows. They want
Fox at that point was notorious for just canceling shows so quickly. You know, they canceled Family Guy, you know, and
did they? I don't think I knew that.
After like 3 or 4, it was like 4, maybe 5 seasons of Family Guy, they canceled it.
Okay.
Show got canceled. I want to say it was 4 seasons. And literally when Family Guy came back, they literally said, is there any, they did this opening skit for Family Guy. The opening bit was, sorry guys, we've been canceled. I'm like, oh God, is there anything we can do? And he goes, well, only if, and then he literally lists every single show that had come on and got canceled between the time that their show was canceled and their show came back on. He goes, unless these shows, and it's a list of like 20, 30 shows, like maybe 40. It's just a crazy amount of shows that he goes, unless all those get canceled, then maybe we'll have another shot. Yeah. And now they've been on for like 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
they also
Fox was notorious for canceling shows.
They canceled also like
NBC ended up being the same way in the later 2000s, like 2010-ish.
Yeah, because I never actually watched this series. Fox also canceled Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles. They canceled Arrested Development, which Arrested Development got a couple seasons. But they also
it was picked up by somewhere else.
Yeah, they canceled Undeclared and Wonder Falls. Haven't seen any of those. But yeah, they were a canceling machine.
Yes. If it didn't get enough quickly enough, they like, because people don't even realize how the TV's actually progressed. Fox was the outlier for a while. You know, like there was the big three. There was NBC, ABC, CBS, and those channels have literally been around since like TV was invented until the 90s, and then Fox showed up as this extra fourth channel, you know. And it was like, oh, and it's on a different signal, it's UHF, you know, this is weird, you know. So Fox starts doing their own thing, and they start getting to the point where they can actually compete with the big three. You know, up until that point, they didn't care about competing with them. But by the early 2000s, they could actually compete and get the, you know, Nielsen rating numbers that were similar to CBS, NBC, ABC.
Yeah.
And so that's what they wanted. And then you had these other channels. At that point, it was like not CW. It wasn't called CW at the time. It was like the WB. Okay. I think it was the WB TV channel. There was a WB TV channel, and then there was UPN, which was like a United Paramount network or something like that.
Gotcha.
Those were the channels that were similar to Fox at that point. And Angel and Buffy had aired on UPN, and they didn't really have to compete that much. They didn't have to get the same high numbers. So Firefly actually outperformed anything he did with Angel.
That's what I was confused about.
And Buffy. It did way better than those shows, but it didn't do better than ABC, CBS, NBC.
Yeah.
So it got canceled. So I think they just thought that he would have more of a draw than he did. I don't know why, but I thought he would.
Yeah, and I also found out this was also a very mismarketed show on TV promos and commercials. Apparently, they really, really mismarketed the show and didn't capture the essence of the show, and that also kind of hurt the show in some ways as far as like ratings go. I don't really have any. I haven't seen any of the promos or anything during that time, but apparently the ads for it were just also terribly mismarketing the show as well. So that didn't even help matters. They just dropped the ball in so many ways for the show. But yeah.
Yeah, so there were so many things. This show was kind of doomed to failure from the beginning. Like there were just too many things working against it, from the time slot and the creator who wasn't willing to work on things, and the studio that didn't actually believe in the show.
Yeah. If your own studio doesn't believe in the show, like it's not going to survive. It's just not going to work.
And if you, as a creator, you can't convince the studio to believe in your show, then you're going to have problems, you know?
Yeah.
But hey, out of this, we got Avengers because he had signed this huge, giant contract with Fox. And actually, no, Fox wasn't.
No, they weren't. Yeah, they weren't.
They weren't connected at that point.
Nope.
Never mind.
That was before that.
That was long before that. Yeah, he ended up working on other things. Yeah. Yeah, so that's Firefly, man. I love this show. It's so much fun.
It's a fun show, and there's something to be said for that. When a show can be fun, can be entertaining, but also it knows its characters, it develops its characters. They're endearing characters.
They were solid characters, and if you watch the show in order, if you get the DVDs or buy it, I have it on Vudu. So you can watch it all there.
Yeah,
like you can see the show in order, and you're gonna sit here and be like, "Why was this canceled?" You know?
Yeah, it's very well put together.
I mean, the graphics don't hold up now.
They are definitely dated graphics for sure. It's very much early 2000s. You can tell this was made in 2002, but the writing though is solid, holds up, and yeah, you can forgive the graphics, but the writing really is what really keeps the show alive.
Yeah,
and at some point, like there's been talk of a reboot for years. I think Fox even mentioned. You don't think it's going to happen?
Never going to happen.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually, wait, no. I'm wrong. I'm completely wrong on that. Because you said a reboot, right?
Reboot, yes. Not a remake. Reboot.
Yeah, I think they actually do have something in the works right now.
Okay.
But it's just not the same. You know, what I wanted was the same characters, same everything to come back and more show. We're never going to get that. But from what I understand, they might be making something in that universe.
Okay. That'd be exciting, at least. That'd be something. I would tune in for that. Just to kind of see what they bring to the table.
Wait, this can't be right. Firefly reboot coming to Disney Plus.
Disney Plus.
Well, because they bought Fox.
Right, that is, true.
I thought I saw like an actual production picture. This is an old article. I don't know. I think I've heard that there's a possibility that they're actually doing.
One piece of trivia that I found that just how hard fans tried to keep this show alive was that prior to its cancellation, fans actually formed a Firefly immediate assistance campaign, which involved them sending postcards to the Fox network to support the production of the show. And then when that failed, they worked on getting another network like UPN to try to pick it up for a second season. And then that campaign obviously ended up being unsuccessful. So fans tried admirably hard in trying to keep this going. It's impressive. The lengths that they went to try to keep it going.
Comicbook.com is claiming that it's been confirmed that a new Firefly series, Firefly, a brand new verse, will be set 20 years after the events of the original Firefly.
Okay.
It will follow... Oh, it's going to follow Zoe and Wash's daughter. I didn't know they had a kid.
I didn't know they had a kid either.
So she's the new captain of Serenity with a brand new crew.
Okay.
Wait, this might be a comic book or thing. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's a comic book thing. Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's a comic book.
Okay. Wow.
But yeah, I don't know. I have heard rumors that Disney's going to do one, but
yeah,
I don't know if it's actually. I don't know. I just can't see it.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, they've done sequels of things longer than this.
Oh, yes.
I mean?
Oh, yes.
And there's nothing wrong with going back and revisiting a property. But to me, it's such an obscure property. You know, we're not talking Star Wars or Star Trek or Doctor Who. We're talking about a show that had 13 seasons and a movie. So you have 13 episodes and a movie.
Yeah.
So you have a half a season, essentially. Well, I guess a full season by today's standard.
Mm-hmm.
And then a movie that barely broke even.
Yeah.
That movie got screwed over too by the way they released it. Like, oh my gosh. They just did everything wrong with this show. They had a great content, and then they did everything
possibly wrong that they could.
Because they wanted to make sure that fans were going to see this movie. So they literally had limited releases throughout the country to get people like stirred up about it in hopes that fans would go and talk about it and get more people to come see the wide release.
Right.
But what ended up happening is everyone who wanted to see it saw it at the limited release.
And then by that
6 months later, when the movie came out,
no one was going.
You already paid $20 to go see the movie at a limited release. Are you going to pay $10 to go see it again?
Yeah,
probably not. Maybe
if you're a diehard fan, maybe, but
I don't think it drummed up anywhere near the amount of stuff it was supposed to. Anyways, my goodness. So
that's Firefly.
That is Firefly. It's kind of a rambling episode.
Yeah, but
I think it's good.
Next week, we'll be doing Man in the High Castle, an alternate history series by Amazon Prime, Amazon TV series. So stay tuned for that one.
Amazon Prime has some good stuff right now.
That's honestly the only TV series I believe I've seen from Amazon. But I know they have
really,
they have.
Oh my gosh,
because I know they have a couple really, really good ones like that are consistent.
I recommended Invincible to you, right?
Invincible. I think you did. Yes.
It's an animated. It's an animated superhero show. But oh my gosh, it's so good. And I mean, and they do stuff in that with that you can only do in animation.
Okay.
And it just works. I can't really recommend The Boys, although I do enjoy it.
You did recommend that one to me the other week, I believe.
It's got a lot of questionable material in it, which I'm weird. I forget about that stuff. And then my brother points it out to me. Because he notices all that stuff way more than I do. I don't know why, but there was an orgy in that episode. There was? Where? Oh, I guess they walked through that and it happened in the back. I didn't even notice that. You know?
Yeah.
It was like Ocean's 11. I never noticed the strippers in the bar in Ocean's 11 until I was watching the movie with my parents. I recommended this movie and it's such a great movie. And I literally never ever noticed that in the bar at the beginning where George Clooney and Brad Pitt meet each other, there's these women dancing on poles. Never noticed it.
It's funny.
I'm watching with my parents.
It's funny you should mention that. I was actually talking to Barb and Tomas. Barb is they're both one of our two consistent listeners on the podcast. And she was talking about, you guys going to do a season 4? I was like, yep, we're planning season 4. And she was giving me some ideas. One of those ideas was awkward movies you could watch with your with your parents. What are some awkward movies that you would watch with your parents? That reminded me of that. But yeah, by the way, she loved our season 3, the dynamic of the pro versus con. They loved our dynamic this season. So that was good to hear for this past season.
That's good to hear. I kind of don't like it, but
that's what I was telling her. I was like, as I was telling her, I was like, it was like some episodes are more fun than others. She absolutely loved the Twilight episode. And I had some actually actual coworkers who also came up to me like, that Twilight episode, that was fantastic. Like apparently that's one of that's people's favorite.
Nice.
So that's good to hear. Yeah. That's one where I just went all off on that movie.
Yeah, you did.
I really did. I didn't hold much back. Nope.
No, not at all. You were looking pissed the whole time.
Yeah.
I told my wife that I was thinking about just starting the episode and be like, I just want to trick you into watching Twilight. Like,
oh, no.
As if it was a prank or something, which would have just been terrible.
Worst prank ever.
Worst prank ever. But yeah, so let's see. So yeah, season 4, I think what we were going to do, if I'm correct, was this movie versus this movie, but they're similar type movies. So like I would pick, I think this is the best Superman movie, and you would be like, oh no, I think this is the best Superman movie. And then we would duke it out over their pros and cons of what makes this good and why do I think this one's better than that one.
Right.
So and then also, but similarly, like Godzilla or King Kong or natural disaster type movie or romantic comedy. You know, I mean, it doesn't have to be just superhero stuff.
Right.
Because we have done a lot of superhero stuff, and I don't want to, especially last season we did a lot, which I enjoyed, but it's also overdone, so I don't want to do it more than I have to. Well, I'm getting tired here.
But yeah. So we will, So we're still working on like season 4, finalizing that, but we will we'll keep you guys in the loop. And for now, we will see you next week for The Man in the High Castle. Hope you enjoyed this episode. You can let us know what you think in the comments, how you think of Firefly, and
let us know if you've seen the show. Let us know if you haven't seen the show.
Right.
And then if you watched the show because of us, come back and tell us what you thought of the show.
Right. Yeah. So, All right. Thanks again for listening.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for listening. And remember to stay, it's cold now, so maybe we should tell you to stay warm.
There you go. Stay warm, folks.
Stay warm, folks. And I don't know what's with the thumbs, but we're going with it.
Yeah. It works.